This week's episode of the HP Outdoors Waterfowl Podcast is proudly brought to you by Camp Chef. Camp Chef has a mission of providing a better way to cook outdoors. They empower people to cook what they want, where they want. Pizzas on the beach, brisket on the back patio, burgers at the big game. There shouldn't be a limit to the possibilities. You can find high-quality cooking equipment for every kind of activity, whether you need a durable camp stove, a pellet grill, or a traditional cast iron skillet. From backcountry to back patio, they're giving you the power to cook what you love. So get out there and feed your outside however you want with the durability, versatility, portability, and power of Camp Chef. You are listening to the HP Outdoors Waterfowl Podcast, episode 106. This week on the show, we're heading back to the Lone Star State, joining our buddies at Red Eye Outfitters to talk a little Sandhill Crane hunting. All right, welcome to the 106th episode of the HP Outdoors Waterfowl Podcast. I'm your host, Josh Palm, and we are your on-demand audio source for all things waterfowl and waterfowl hunting. Check us out at hpoutdoors.com. You can find us on all the social media platforms out there, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. If you're a Facebook user, head over to our Facebook listeners group. Join a bunch of folks that listen to the show, chatting it up in there. You can also find my co-host in there quite often, Dan Harushka. Dan, what's up?
Not too much, my man.
Well said. If you're new to the show, you can check us out anywhere quality podcast content can be found: iTunes, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Play Store, all the good spots you can find quality content, quality podcast content. You can find our show. Before we get too far down the road, I want to just take a minute to thank the supporters of this week's episode, Dunn's Sporting Goods. Dunn's is a family-owned and operated business with two locations, Peevely, Missouri, and Marion, Illinois. They've got over 60 years dedicated to providing the outdoorsman with the best deals in hunting and fishing gear. Check out their selection at shopduns.com, as well as on Facebook and Instagram at shopduns for weekly specials and giveaways. They've also got a HP discount for 10% off. So head over there and take advantage of that. Some restrictions do apply. Also to Lucky Duck, about the only creature that they can't deceive is you. Lucky Duck is more than a brand. It's a lifestyle built around the subtle art of critter deception. While you're focused on the business end of your shotgun or rifle, know that they're completely focused on what matters most, you. Whether you're in the duck blind, dove field, on a predator stand, or chasing turkeys, they're confident that their products will help you succeed. Check out their full lineup at luckyduck.com and keep up with their latest news by following them on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. 737 Duck Calls, original design, select grade components, superior sound, and unparalleled service. 737 takes exceptional pride in producing the finest quality, best built premium calls in the market today. They're made in America and offered only direct to consumer through their website. Shipping in the U.S. is always free, and international orders are also now accepted online. A 20-day money-back guarantee and a lifetime warranty accompany every call purchased. 737 Duck Calls lead the flock. Also, Gunner Kennels, engineered for your dog, designed for travel, and built for your peace of mind. The G1 Kennel has set a new industry standard and put Gunner Kennels in a category all its own. Gunner Kennels was started to protect your pet, and it continues to be at the center of everything that they do. They're dedicated to building the best and safest pet travel crate on the market, because man's best friend deserves man's best kennel. Check out their G1 series of kennels and accessories at gunnerkennels.com. Also, thank you to Big Al Silhouette Decoys, Native Eyewear, and Black Rifle Coffee Company. Guys, we do say it every week, and we'll say it again this week. Please support the companies that support this show and the efforts that we've got here. Some of them have offered us a great discount code to help it make it a little bit easier for you guys out there. As I mentioned, 10% off with Dunn's Sporting Goods, 15% off with Black Rifle Coffee Company, 10% off with White Rock Decoys, 15% off 737 Duck Calls, 15% off with Alpha Dog Nutrition, $10% off with Gunner Kennels, and 10% off of Ridge Wallet. Take advantage of these discount codes if you're in the market for something. If you need a reminder as to what kind of discount codes we've got and check the current list of offerings, you can go to the hpoutdoors.com website, check out the discount code tab, and find all of the current discounts available. So definitely take advantage of those if you need to. All right, Dan. So this week we're heading back to Texas, and we're talking with our buddies Colton Collin and Michael Wells down there at Red Eye Outfitters in Lubbock, Texas. And we're talking about a topic that really neither one of us have much experience discussing, or having never hunted. So it's kind of probably as much of a learning week for us as it is for anybody listening to the show.
Yeah, crane hunting 101 for sure. And I think we got a lot of good feedback on Eric Chan's episode, hitting up California. And I know we were talking Texas, the teal with, the Lifetime guys and 737 down there. So, we decided to go back and hit the crane hunting. They get after it down there. So there's just so much that if you don't do it and you don't do a ton of research, you just don't get that info. And we wanted to get that out. So, we talked to them. We've been in talks for a while with them. They donated the hunt on the 100th episode, which was super cool.
Yep.
And, talked to them about getting them on a show, and finally on their crane and duck Christmas Eve, because their opener is tomorrow. We're talking here Friday night. So, this will come out Monday. They will already have some pictures posted, I'm sure. And they got it set up. They're ready to go for cranes, and then they're going to go and smash some ducks, which include canvasbacks and redheads already down there in Texas.
Yeah, that's crazy. And I think this is kind of a timely episode for us this week, because based on some current news and stuff that kind of hit this week, we as I mean people that hunt in the Atlantic Flyway, and have got some news recommendations coming out suggesting that our Canada goose numbers in certain areas go down, and also our mallard season, or our mallard bag limit, being cut in half. So we may be doing a little more hunting in other areas of the country. And, Sandhill Cranes is something that I've never done, but it sounds like a great experience, and something that I hope we get to check the box next year.
Yeah, and it's funny because, they are, like we talk about it in the show, like wingspan, 7-foot wingspan, like these are big birds, but I was looking up at the weight, and the weight is between 7 to 11 pounds. So if you think about a greater Canada, usually a 12-pound Canada goose is a big bird. You might get a 13, maybe, I don't even want to say 14, but a 13-pound is very big. But to get a 10 or 11-pound goose is I don't want to say common, but a lot of guys are shooting those around. So they're big and lanky and have some great steaks on them. But still, I was kind of surprised that they top out around 11 pounds. So anyway, it is a great conversation, and like they were saying, you try and go for the head because the bodies have the thick skin on them, and it was a great show. Good guys to talk to, and definitely excited about their opener.
Yeah, and you can tell, they're no different. We saw a bunch of guys posting in the listeners group about their seasons getting ready to kick off and stuff, and you can tell these guys are the same way. Even though they spend a lot of time in the field guiding other hunters and stuff, you can, you still get the feel that that they're jazzed up and ready to get into it. And I enjoyed hearing about how they do it, and just kind of some of the nuance that goes into it.
For sure. Yeah, they're pumped. I saw, Colton sent me a picture of their blind, the 35-foot blind all brushed up, which is incredibly large. And, social media today, I saw 737s pumping water onto their property, and they're getting pumped over there. And also I got an email today from Gunner saying that Gunner's 10 years old. So happy birthday to Gunner, which was the, original dog behind the Gunner name. So, a lot of good stuff happening, a lot of good things with like you said, season coming into effect for a lot of people here shortly. And I'm excited for you to get out here, but you still got some time to wait, I think, don't you?
Yeah, I don't, I've been, kind of focusing on deer hunting here, and not having much success with that. So I'm ready for the waterfowl season to kick back up here next month in November. And, it won't be long. We'll be getting over to Kansas. Actually, I should probably share that story before we get into this, about what's happened to me here recently. So,
awful.
yeah, this is, it's still still unresolved currently, but as we all know, we are going to be heading out to Kansas to hunt with Ben, the big Kansas Outdoors, and our first the travel day out there would be the 29th of November is when we're actually going out, right?
Right.
And I get a notice in the mail a week ago today, actually, I guess it was last Friday, that I'm being selected for jury duty. I'm like, okay. So I open it up and I could not believe that the date that said that I would have to report would be 29 November. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, this is insane. Like, this couldn't be worse timing, right?
Right.
So in the state of Virginia, you have a 5-day period to request postponement or whatever. So I have done that at this point. I've requested, and I sent my flight ticket, that I was purchased in June. It's non-refundable. Didn't think there was any way I'd be backing out of it. So, I just put forward that. So hopefully a judge will find it within himself or herself to postpone my requirement and allow me to go on this hunt, because if for some reason they say that that's not a valid excuse and I can't postpone it, which I do believe they will do, but again, who knows? The way they do it is, you've got a group number that you're assigned to and you have to call the night before and see if your group has to report the following day. I've had this one other time where my group was not reported, so I didn't actually have to go. So there is still a chance that even if they say they're not going to allow me to postpone it, that I could call the night before and my group is not selected and I can still go hunting. So even if the judge shoots it down, all hope is not lost, but I'll be pretty deflated if the judge shoots that down.
That's going to be a nervous night because we both fly out like 6 a.m. or something like that.
Yeah, my flight's super early. So I asked when I would find out, and they said if I didn't hear back from them within a couple days to call them back. So if I don't hear anything by the end of next week, I'll call back and see where we're at with it.
I think I'd be calling like Monday.
Well, I mean, it doesn't matter, right? I mean, whether I call now or whenever, like, they'll tell me as soon as the judge has seen it. So I don't want to call back if the judge hasn't even seen it yet. So, I mean, there's nothing I can do to change it, right? Regardless of what he says, even if they say, nope, he said no, like, there's nothing I can do now that's going to impact it. So, I'm just going to make sure, hopefully give him time to do it and get back with me. But yeah, not cool, right? I mean, I'm really not excited about that, like, at all.
No.
So yeah, hopefully that works out for the best.
Yeah. Not much more to say about that, except we hope that you can make it.
Yeah, me too. Anyway. All right. Well, what do you say? You want to get into this interview with the guys and catch up on the other side?
Sounds good.
All right. Here we go. Welcome Colin and Michael to the show. All right. Joining us this week on the show is a couple guys that are going to shed some light on a topic that neither Dan or I can speak much to at all, frankly. We're joined by the guys from Red Eye Outfitters out of Lubbock, Texas, Colton and Michael. Guys, welcome to the show.
What's going on? Thanks. I appreciate that.
Hey, we're glad to have you guys here. We're excited to have you. Got tons of questions about crane hunting and the opportunities that you guys down there. But before we get into that at all, I just want to take an opportunity to thank you all for donating a hunt to our 100th episode giveaway. I know we've got a winner picked and there's some dates and stuff, and they're going to come down there and bang them up. So I just wanted to take a second to thank you for that and for supporting the giveaway.
Absolutely, man. It was my pleasure, really. Not a problem.
Awesome. Cool. Well, let's talk a little bit about just sort of your outfit in general before we get too far into this. So for anybody that hadn't ever heard of Red Eye Outfitters, talk a little bit about what you guys got going on. Obviously where you operate out of and sort of how your roles with the operation, all that kind of stuff, and just give us a little quick overview of what you guys run down there.
Well, when we started out, I was looking for a way to cover the overhead expenses for hunting. And as we've talked about several times in the show, it's expensive. And I had a bird that, not many other people had. So we really focused on getting something set up so that we could take other people out and make a little money doing it. They pay for the fuel, for the decoys, for everything that came into it. It was never a bottom line type of company. And that's how it remains. I don't try to price gouge. I don't try to make every dime I can. I don't set a minimum on how many guys in each group. I don't do that kind of stuff because my goal is to get more guys out there. I think that we're a dying industry right now. I think that we have too many guys that they're trying to make their millions off of guiding hunts. That's silly. I mean, you have to have more hunters to survive. So my goal is to get as many guys out there and have them shoot their first bird, have them have that unforgettable hunt, that one campfire story for the rest of their life. That's kind of how Red Eye got started, and it remains the same way.
That's awesome. Michael, you're lead guide there, right?
Yes, sir.
And how long have you been there?
Since day one. About 2 years ago, Colton came up. I came over to his house. I'm always over here. May as well get my mail sent here. But he called me over one day and was like, "Hey, I'm starting up an outfitter." And I was like, "Cool, man. Congratulations." And I was like, "So who's all going to work for you?" And he goes, "Well, I was going to see if you wanted to." I was like, "Okay, done deal. I'm down. Let's do this." So, twist my arm over here. Let's do this. So, I mean, day one, I was on board with him and been stuck with him ever since, I guess. Stuck.
So we were talking a little bit before we started recording. A lot of guys, they talk about the waterfowl season grind and how waking up every day and doing all the scouting and stuff like that. And for most guys, that's like a 60-day season roughly. But you were telling us that the crane season is quite a bit longer. So you guys, got to grind it out a little bit longer than what most of us. And it was funny because you told me how long it was. And I was like, man, they're talking about, cutting our seasons in half, and y'all got like these crazy liberal seasons. So, if someone's out there hearing this for the first time that, they can pursue Sandhill Crane, what's the season like that you guys have to operate with down there?
We start, the crane usually get here mid-September. This year I very small group, September 1 when I was out dove hunting. But the season starts up the last weekend of October normally, and it goes to the last weekend of January. It is a very long season, but beginning of the season, you have small numbers. I mean, I say small numbers, they're larger numbers than what nearly anyone else is going to see. Towards January, middle of December to January, you're starting to see a full number, as in the entire migration. That's huge. It's a lot of birds. Yeah. Covers up a lot of land. There's a lot of places to hunt. And there's a lot of outfitters in Lubbock, which has been spoken about before. And
it's not uncommon to see 50,000 birds flying, but not in your spread, not where you're hunting, but around in the area. I mean, when you're 3.5 miles from their roost and you can hear them before they even get up.
Wow.
I mean, that is a lot of birds. And then when they do get up and it looks like a bomb went off in the distance and there's this mushroom cloud of birds getting up. Yeah. It's a little,
give me goosebumps.
Yeah, seriously. We're going to get to watch it tomorrow. So I'm pretty excited about it.
And what kind of bag limits do you guys have on these birds?
The limit on them is 3 per day. And, so honestly, you can limit out and empty your gun in the same time. So if you're pretty good at shooting, so
the tough thing is that these are tough birds. They are harder birds to kill for some reason.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. We don't have an issue killing them, but a lot of guys do.
Well, I was going to
get a BB in the neck, you're going to go down, but if you shoot one in the body, it's almost like there's a bulletproof vest right there.
Right. Yeah. I was going to ask you about that because, you look at them and they got those big long legs and the long neck, and it almost gives you the impression, just visually looking at that they would fold up pretty easy, but obviously what you're saying, that's not the case. So like if a guy's looking to pursue these, what, do you have like a size shot recommendation that that you recommend guys bring with them, or, how far are you typically shooting them pretty close range? Like kind of what's the setup there?
In November, it's going to be a fairly close range. Shot size, I'm traditional. I hear of guys going out there with 8-shot steel shot, and I hear they crush them. It's hard for me to wrap my mind around that, to be honest with you. It's a huge bird. I just don't believe that. But there's guys that say they've done it. As for us, I always recommend a shell that's going to pound you, because if it pounds you, it's going to pound the bird. So I say heavy, slow, something like a slug. So something real heavy, real strong, real big.
Yeah. Another thing that's cool about crane is that you can actually shoot them, as long as you're hunting in a dry field, you can actually shoot them with lead shot up here. And That's what I prefer. I actually like shooting with turkey loads. That's my personal preference, but I usually lean away from that once the geese really start showing up, just because we do get geese that sometimes come in with crane. They don't segregate themselves when they fly together, but they will segregate themselves in a field. And when that happens, that's when I just start switching over to heavier, larger loads. You can kill them with 3-inch shells all day long. I try to stay away from 2 3/4 myself. But
I'm curious about those Boss shells.
Yeah, same here. I kind of want to try them out, but
yeah, that last week I talked to the guys they were up in Manitoba shooting them, and they were using the Boss shells, and I think they were actually using all of it was 2 3/4, and I think that they were using 4 or 5 shot, and they were folding a few up. But that's interesting that you can use lead, and makes me wonder about that. But yeah, if you have geese coming in and you start killing them, you definitely don't want lead in your blind bag with a steel shot for geese. So
I tell everyone, if they ask about that's going to go on a hunt with us, I say, well, if you're going to bring lead, if you're going to bring turkey shot and get that slight advantage, just know in the situation, if there's any geese in the area, I will not let anybody shoot a goose. If anyone has lead anywhere around them in their truck, in their blind bag, there's no waterfowl shooting, period.
Yeah.
It's strictly crane at that point.
Right.
The thing about crane is they're not considered a waterfowl species because they technically don't have a webbed foot. It really looks like a turkey print. Like when you see their tracks in the ground, it just looks like turkey have been there. But if you go on the Texas Parson lot, we've had
pterodactyl.
Yeah, or pterodactyl. Because we've had multiple clients ask us about lead shot, and they said, no, that doesn't sound right. Well, it's on the Texas Parks and Wildlife website. And it says right there, you can shoot crane with lead shot. And when I first heard it, I didn't believe it either. But upon further review, we did find that it is legal. So, and it does make them do backflips.
Jeez. So one question I had, you said that they start showing up in September, and just because I know nothing about cranes or crane hunting, because we see maybe 30 to 50 a year fly through here, I was reading, there is a lesser that kind of breeds up in the Arctic. There's a greater that comes from the northern U.S., and then there's a subspecies in Florida that doesn't migrate. So do you guys have any resident population of them? Do any stick around?
We don't have any residents. What we get is mainly the lessers. There are graders here, and we do shoot a fair number of those every year. But for the most part, it's going to be the lesser community. They're still fun. They're still big birds. You shoot a lesser, you're going to think you shot a grader until you actually shoot a grader.
So how big of a difference is that?
It's when they're flying, it's kind of, you can, once you start getting a keen eye for it, you can actually tell the difference. And then when they're standing next to each other, it's a huge difference. For instance, last year we had a hunt where we had lessers and graders landing in the spread, and it was like, okay, we're shooting the big boys today. And then literally, this was the last week of season, and this actually threw me for a loop. We were sitting there, and one of my buddies was up here helping us guide a hunt, and we always joke about whooping crane out here, and he goes, "Hey, there's a whooping crane coming in with some sandhills." And I was like, "Yeah, right." And I looked over, and sure enough, there was an actual whooping crane coming in. So I kicked the blind over and ran out in the decoys and started running around like a crazy person. And yeah, because I'm not taking that fine, and I'm not letting anybody shoot one of those. And then we had it a few days later. We were hunting a field not far from there, and it came and landed in with the crane. And I didn't realize how much bigger a whooping crane is than a Sandhill crane. And they were landing with graders. And I mean, it's a noticeable difference. And then when the lesser scouting,
just to make that clear, this is while scouting. They were landing with the other Sandies.
Yeah. So, and next thing you know, there's lesser walking next to the graders crane. And I mean, it looks like a adult holding a child's hand, and then walks next to the whooping crane, and it looks like Shaq standing next to a normal sized person. It's there's a huge difference in the size of them. So
it's one of those things that it's hard to describe to you. The communication, it's something that I truly wish that everyone gets to experience in their life, because once you see one, once you hold one, once you're up close to one, it gives you new respect for the species. They're big birds,
and they're beautiful in their own ways. I mean, I've heard people talk about like sea duck hunting, for instance, like black scoters and stuff. To me, it just looks like a black duck with a cool looking bill on it. And then I'm not trying to downplay it at all, but then I watched a Drake episode one time, and they had Pit Boss waterfowl on there, and once you actually get it close to you and you can actually look at it, you realize this is actually a really pretty bird, really cool looking bird. And it's the same way with a crane. I mean, you just think it's some big gray stork coming in, and it's really not. It's actually a really pretty bird. So,
yeah. So, I mean, are they, you said you could hear them, a couple miles away from the roost. Sometimes you get them in that big of numbers. As far as hunting them, are you calling to them like geese? I mean, do you kind of pursue them the same, or sort of, how do you end up pulling them in kind of for someone, I honestly have no idea. So, I just know I don't feel like I see a lot of crane calls on the market. So I'm curious, is there like that calling interaction that goes on as much?
It's not as much as if you're goose hunting. You can tell with crane from what I've seen. You can see if they're interested or if they're not. So, I mean, the way I play it out is I have my decoys out, and they are drawn to the decoys. Now, talking to them, that's quite a bit of confidence you're building within them. So sometimes you're going to have them, say, 200, 300 yards off. You hit a call at them, and they bank left right into you. Other times, they'll be 200 to 300 yards off, and you call and call and call at them, and it's as if you're not there. They don't want to look at you. It also depends on your level of skill with calling. So when I first started working on a call, of course, they weren't interested. They'll avoid it like a plague. As I got better with one, it was more and more that they wanted to come into it. But it's not as common as
calling ducks or calling geese out of the sky. I mean, it's more of a get their attention. Hey, we're right here. Now, they do have different calls when they get closer, and when they get right on top of you, I mean, right on top of you, like 10 feet above your head, if that, you shoot them. Well, other than that, I mean, you'll hear them kind of make this guttural sound, and it's really low, and you only hear it when they're right next to you. So
thumping in the chest.
Yeah, it's really weird. I mean, it kind of sounds like something in the dryers getting banged around in there. So you gotta, if you can replicate that on a goose call, I think that's more of a confident style call for them. And we went out on a mock hunt last weekend, just taking pictures and stuff, and it seemed to work. I mean, they seem to bank right into us. I mean, of course, they are October. I mean, we had them landing right next to us anyway. So I don't know I wouldn't necessarily say it was the calling or if it was just the decoys and then just wanted to be right there or what. But you can tell the difference between when they react to a call and not calling. So
I had a couple questions. I had some questions about the decoys. Like, what's the decoy market look like for cranes and the price of them? Because they are big birds to replicate. So who has crane decoys and what kind of price are you paying for a spread? And how many do you hunt with?
Right now, deception is the name of the game. That's an expensive decoy. It's what is it, $250 for 3 of them?
$250 or $300. I think they dropped their price, but it's a little up there.
And then Dive Bomb just came out with their silhouetted crane. We tried those out. We mixed those in with the deception, and it worked great. I mean, if you're trying to throw numbers, Dive Bomb's a great way to go. But other than that, you have Silosox, Deception, and Dive Bomb. In the past, Clambeau made a crane, which was actually a repainted
blue heron.
Yeah, blue heron.
Which I like to use on duck hunting, but
yard ornament.
Yeah.
So it was a yard ornament that they repainted to be a crane, so it still had the frou-frou on the back of the neck like its hair. So those were there. They're kind of MIA now. So your main call right now, it's either Dive Bomb or it's Deception. Personally, we run a good number of stuffers, and those have unbelievable effects. They work. So the downfall with Deception is going to be the wind. So if it's not very windy, your birds do not move at all. We rigged up a jerk string last year with our Deceptions in January, and it turned the birds stupid again. I mean, it was unreal.
Like the same flock that had already just said, "Nah, we're not coming in." They turned right back around and were coming in, feet down, 15 feet from us.
Right. And the downfall with Dive Bomb is that it's a flat decoy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's nothing wrong with it. We landed birds in the spread all day with these silhouettes. I highly disagree with anyone that says that you can't land birds in silhouettes. That's the thing of the past. I think Dive Bomb came out with some great stuff. So again, if you want numbers at a discounted rate, I would go with Dive Bomb.
Mm-hmm.
If you want feet down landing every single time, that's either Stuffers or Deception. Either one.
Mm-hmm.
Those are your two options there.
So what do the socks look like?
It's
They work
sock.
too.
Yeah, it's a 2D body, and it's a sock. It looks just like one. It's got one stake. Stake either sticks out of its bill, its beak, or out of the bottom of its chest.
Like where its legs would be.
Right.
Like a normal silhouette sock would be.
I ran those too, and those do great works. They really do. It's just, for the most part, they're not going to land in socks. They're good enough to draw them in to where you have a good 25 to 30 yard shot. I want them to be 10 to 15 yards. Part of that's to get a better chance for our guest to take a look at them. Gives you a better feeling, less misses, things of that nature. The socks do great. If it's too windy, you can't really run them. They make noise. They move too much. That kind of issues. Crane are very cautious birds. I would never call them smart birds.
I would. That's where he and I disagree, but
I just say they're overly cautious.
Yeah.
So if you put a white bucket out in the field, they're not going to come into that field.
Seriously. Like if it wasn't there the day before, yeah, they're out of there. If they do come into that field, it's on the complete opposite side of that field.
That's right. If you put up a panel blind or a A-frame blind, something of that nature, the best way to get them to be comfortable with it is staking. In our area, tumbleweeds. So we'll take rebar and take it out 30 yards, and then another 20 yards, and another 10 yards, and just stake a tumbleweed out there, so it looks as if a tumbleweed is blown in, as everything's catching in this one spot. Now, without it, they're still going to come in, but not as fast of a rate because they're checking everything out. The next biggest thing is toppers, like having a top over your head. They will check you out, especially late season birds.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to look at everything you have. They're going to look inside your blind and they're going to chastise you. There's no other way to put it. I mean, they're judging you.
I mean, I think, me personally, I think that they're very wary as well, but I think they're very smart. I think that they can recognize your, like, even scouting. I think that they can remember your vehicle from the year before, because, I mean, you can pull up next to a field, be 300 yards away, and for no reason whatsoever, they just get up and they take a haul across the countryside to the next side of the county for no reason. I mean, I've had them land next to the truck last year, and then by the end of the season, they were avoiding it like the plague.
Yeah.
So, that's where
they're smart in their own way.
Yeah.
These birds get to be really old. So one of our landowners here has a salt lake on his property. And 6 years ago, it was a roost. Actually, 7 years now, but he brought, every day he'd go out there and he'd shoot a few sandies and go back home, with his limit. One day he had 4 or 5 guys out there and they shot, their limit of sandhills. And after that, the sandhills never landed on that roost again. That salt lake. And to this day, there's not been a group of sandhills that have landed on that salt lake. So I think they remember pretty well.
Yeah. Well, so, I mean, is it just a significant portion of the population that winters in your area? Is that how wide is that range where people get these in huntable numbers like you all are in? I mean, is it obviously you guys got them thick where you're at, but how far does that area spread, and are they coming back to a relatively small area year after year for their wintering grounds?
So what we have is different. We have great crops down here. So in our south of Lubbock, New Home area, a lot of people grow peanuts.
Yeah.
In that east and west parallel, there's a lot of peanut fields. There's a lot of sorghum fields. There's a lot of, not so much corn fields, but there's also cotton. There's tons of cotton in Lubbock, and the crane love to eat it.
Huh.
So yeah, they come and they stay on the salt lakes because the salt lakes won't freeze over like the regular lakes.
Right.
I think that's why they stay. So we have, last I checked, 840-something thousand Sandhill Crane, which that number may be way off. And the majority of them end up sticking
not by much, but it's pretty thick down here with them. I mean, that was last year when I looked, but yeah, they end up sticking around here because the food's good, the lodging's great. The only thing they have to worry about is those pesky kids running around with their guns. Yeah, I mean,
definitely.
We get them. They're all up and down the panhandle of Texas for the most part. I mean, they'll stay up in Amarillo for a while and then come down here. And for them, pretty early. Yeah, I mean, they stay down here for a long time. I mean, you'll see crane down here up until March, and you get them down in far South Texas. I mean, way down there. I mean, where I hunt in South Texas is way down there for deer. And I mean, I pulled into camp one day and you can hear a crane before you'll see it. I mean, they can be 10 miles up and you'll just see a dot, and that's exactly what it is. I mean, they have a huge range that they go, but it's just, for some reason they get down here and this is where they're staying. This is where they hang out. They don't leave. But I mean, they'll move around a little bit, but for the most part, this is where they stay once they get down here.
So going back to decoy spreads and actually hunting them, do you guys put goose decoys out at the same time? Are they leery of goose decoys, or how do you run that? You say sometimes geese come in with them, but do you ever mix and match the decoys there?
To be honest with you, that's something I haven't quite figured out. Now, the geese are going to come over because it's a good flyway. We never mix them together. What I've watched scouting over and over is it's more seldom when you see the crane landing with the geese. So my goal is to shoot the limit of crane. The geese are separate. So a lot of times what we'll do is we'll carry out a spread of geese, a small spread, and we'll be hunting the same field where the geese and the crane are. Once we shoot our limit of crane, or if we're coming up to close to it and we have a little break with flights, we'll run out there and we'll throw as many as we can out until we start seeing the birds move again. That's a longer hunt. I like to go just for one species. There's guys that go out there. I mean, by no means are we the best. I'll be straightforward with you. We are not the best. We haven't been out here as long as so many guys have. I mean, there's other guys that are just unbelievable with this. You look at Brent Phelps. That guy knows what he's doing. He's a stud with it. We have done something that we love, and we've made it into a little business, and it's turned out to be a huge blessing. So there's a lot of things that I don't know, but we'll try anything. And it's either going to affect the hunter or it's not. Sometimes the geese crash right in when you throw a spread out to the side. Sometimes they avoid it. I'm sorry, but that's just one thing that I'm not comfortable with saying. Yeah, I know exactly how to place the decoys and the spread to set it up perfectly. I mean, you'd have better luck if you went with one of the guys that is well known, that's been here forever, like Eric Guggenheim.
You know, you can kill geese on a crane hunt, but they're not going to come in and volley after volley after volley into crane decoys. I mean, we've done it last year where we'd set a few. When he said a small spread out here, that's a couple hundred decoys for geese. I mean, but you set that off about 50 yards to the side, and it just gives you a little bit better chance at shooting some passing geese. They'll kind of come by you and give you a better look than without having them there. So you
get lessers down there?
Oh yeah, very few graders.
Yeah, so you're basically shooting mallards with chin straps on down here. It's really frustrating.
Seriously,
but it's just the mobs, man. It's like a huge mob. They're everywhere. They come in screaming, and it's hard not to hit one when they come in. It's just unreal. But golly, I wish they were bigger birds.
I wish we were killing honkers like you guys.
They talk about ground shrink. You know, when you shoot a big buck and the rack shrunk. That's exactly what happens with these geese.
They look huge in the sky, and you walk
shoot 5 or 6 of them, and you walk up to them, you're like, "Oh, damn, I should have gone duck hunting."
So
we get a huge number of geese out here.
So you had mentioned, that the decoys draw the birds, and that when you hooked up a jerk string, that kind of made the bird stupid again. Do you also use similar techniques like flagging and anything like that? Or, is it?
Yes.
So all that is kind of along the same line as that jerk string. It just, motion's kind of the name of the game.
Yes.
We try anything and everything, man. If the birds aren't doing what we want them to do, which does happen. And I mean, whoever says that doesn't happen, I think they're liars. There are days the birds just don't want to do it.
That's hunting in general.
Right. So it causes you to start thinking outside the box, because you don't want to ruin a morning. It's not ever ruined. Let me say that first. It's not ever ruined when you get up and you're out there in the field. That's what it's all about.
Right.
Whether you shoot birds or not, you're out there, you're having a good time, period. But your want is to bring some birds down. So you get really creative really fast and the birds aren't doing what you want them to do. So we tried jerk rigs. We tried flappers. I mean, the
flagging, yeah.
But both of those worked. We tried rebrushing the blind, repositioning the blind, moving the spread over and over and over. We tried it all. And I mean, the jerk rig, that worked really stupid well. And so did the flagging. The flagging stuck out.
It sounds like you guys need to make a motorized base or something, a remote control motorized base to get them moving. Make it a little easier for you.
Quit giving our secrets away. We're working on something like that.
We have good relationships with some of these decoy makers. And, sometimes we get to chime in our 2 cents. And if they ever care to listen, we'll tell them everything that we've seen. One thing that I do that's a little bit different is I like to go out there and study the birds. So before a hunt, I'll go in there maybe a week in advance, and every morning I'll watch the the same field. You know, if it's big in a field, I know they're going to be there. I'll watch them every morning, and I'll study them. I'll see their tendencies. I'll see what they're watching, what they're staying away from. I'll watch everything that changes their flight pattern. And doing that, you see a whole different characteristic of these birds. You learn a lot more. It's what takes you to the next level when you're hunting. And a lot of times you can go out one morning before, find a big spread of birds, and you're thinking, all right, I'm going to hunt that the next morning. I like to go out there, and when I have clients, I like to say, hey, more than likely you're going to see a bird in the next 5 minutes. And sure enough, 2.5 minutes in, there's a bird trying to land in the spread. That's my thing. So anybody willing to listen, I'll tell them what I think will be best, how they act to different positions of decoys, how they react to motion in the decoys, how they react to the lack of. That's just things that we'll do to stay above the rest.
I mean, especially for out here with decoy placement, we try to, talking about motion and everything, we keep our sentries kind of on the outskirts of the spread for the most part, almost like they're walking in, and the rest, we'll just pile up a bunch of feeders right in front of the blind, and that's what we'll tie the jerk string to for the most part, or using a flag or something like that. I mean, for the most part, wind doesn't really affect for some reason, wind doesn't really affect crane as much as it would anything else. Although when you start shooting at them, yeah, they catch a wind and they're gone just because they're like a glider. But you can get them to land with the wind, against the wind, across the wind. It doesn't really matter, but it does help.
If I can, I'd like to give you two words of advice for anyone out there that cares. Number one, never get too confident in your skills. There's always something there for you to learn. I'm the best example of it. I will look stupid asking questions to everybody. It could be nobody. Just ask them, how'd you set this up? What'd you do differently here? What happened here? What would you do in this situation? And in doing that, what I'm doing is I'm looking for that one key answer where I'm thinking, oh, wow, that can change the entire element of my game. And that alone can make you so much better at hunting. It's not even fair. The next thing is be different. Forever we've seen for geese, throw the U, throw the donut. You want to face where the birds are going to land. Okay, what if you have a west wind and those birds are landing where you're facing the sun? Well, that sun's highlighting you. So your spread, what they're looking at is exactly what they're seeing out of that sun, what it's showing, and that's you. So, I mean, there's so many different things that you can pick up from people that change your element. If you do something differently than what you've heard, what you've always done, it may change your game tenfold.
Right. No doubt.
Yeah, we get that a lot. Just the average answer is always, the U or something like that. And we tell a lot of people, just be different. If you have something that makes you stand out, or, go with a smaller spread instead of 5 dozen decoys or whatever it may be, but to stand out. And, going back to just their habits and whatnot, a quick Google search before we started here was telling me that they like to roost on deep ponds. So I'm thinking Texas, like, how many ponds do you have in the area? Or is there one big major roost? And then when do they fly? Usually we have ducks and then geese come after that. Are they kind of after geese? Are they after the ducks? Are they first to fly?
They are never the first ones off the roost, but they are not the last ones.
Yeah, so it goes ducks are first down here. I mean, it's hard to get a field hunt for ducks out here because most of the time they're going to be here before 15 minutes before shooting light. You see them come in, you see them eat, you see them leave, wanting to shoot them the entire time.
Oh.
As for roosts,
yeah. I mean, they're just sitting there just flipping you the bird.
They're with our toms. You're sitting there sweating bullets, like, well, let me take the safety off just for one.
Come on, man, just one.
Yeah, but no, but we have a lot of roosts. There's no deep water roost out here.
I don't know, man. We've had a lot of rain recently. So.
We have. The main ones they sit on are the salt lakes. Those tend to be a lot more shallow, very muddy. I mean, that'd be a great way to get fit, is to try to walk across one every day in waders.
Yeah.
But for the most part, that's where they're going to stick for the entire season. You're going to get birds that hit that immediately. And then the rest of the birds are going to fill in as it gets colder and colder. Yeah. And they're going to step away from the traditional freshwater roost, which is never actually freshwater.
I mean, out here, you'll see them loaf in a shallow freshwater pond. I mean, just a normal pond out here, which on a dry year, like last year, which was very dry by the end of season, you'll see them landing. You'll sometimes see them land in a dry field, just a loaf. I mean, it has no crops, nothing around it, just and landing out in some CRP grass. And that's where a pond had been. It's just a low area just so they can get out of the wind out here, because that's one thing we're known for out here is wind.
We do have wind.
So it's just anything they can do to get out of that. That's pretty much where you'll sometimes find them, especially if around the salt lakes, because they're technically not a salt lake. It's an alkaline lake. It's just more soda lake. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, there's tons of different names.
Yeah.
And really nasty water. The birds come off it, you shoot them, they have these white crystals on their legs. It's gross.
But typically you don't see geese landing on salt lakes. You'll see
shot a few of them.
A couple, but nothing. You're not going to see a goose roost on a salt lake by any means, for the most part. You'll see some ducks out there. You'll see divers mostly, but it's going to be diver ducks and crane.
Where are the spoonies not?
Exactly, spoonies are there. You find spoonies, you're going to find crane for the most part too.
Gee, so what? So you have cranes and ducks opening up tomorrow. So are you guys full force on the cranes? Do you find some of the freshwater places for the ducks? What's your game plan for the first week?
So we took a couple areas, like a couple of good sized areas before season when the crane were getting here. We got as much land as we could for the crane, and doing that it locked down a lot of land for ducks. So, being who we are, we want a hell of a starter, if you will. We're gonna shoot a massive limit tomorrow morning of crane, and then tomorrow evening we're gonna drive slightly to the left, and we're gonna shoot a massive limit of ducks because we can.
Well, the problem is with right now is that the ducks are a little bit spread out, but they're here. I mean, we've got whatever you want to shoot, they're here right now. I've got ducks over at my old apartment complex. There's a huge pond over there, and that's a goose roost. If you've ever seen one, if you want to see several thousand geese come in, they were my alarm clock last year. And you will have geese and you will have mallards. You won't really see pintails, but you'll see a few widgeon. And I drove past it yesterday, and there were redheads and canvasbacks and ruddy ducks sitting on there. And I hate ruddy ducks.
Wow,
you can't.
Sounds awful.
That's crazy.
It's bad because it's so tempting, because you're like, I mean, they're 100 yards from my back porch and there's trees all around it. I could sneak down there. If this was out in the middle of nowhere, I would have done anything to get that pond.
Don't fucking incriminate yourself.
Hey, I haven't done anything over there. I've just taken pictures. But yeah, no, we get a lot of huge, different variety of ducks out here.
Yes,
that's awesome.
So,
you know, I'm looking at these birds, and these things are, you know, they're like 4 feet tall. I mean, they're big wingspan. I mean, they're a lot bigger bird than what I'm used to, you know, seeing. And I'm curious, you know, how much meat can you get off of each one, and you know, what are some ways that guys like to prepare them?
I mean, the most known way is fajita meat.
Okay.
You get the breasts, but the breasts are very large, yeah. You can also get the legs out. There's a lot of tendons in those legs.
It's more of a pain than anything else to mess with those.
There's a lot of people that want those. We clean the birds for our clients free of charge. We just try to make it an all-around great experience. But we've heard a lot of people taking the legs, taking the breasts, and taking the giblets, which I hope anyone that shoots a Sandhill Crane takes the giblets.
No, you don't. Don't say that.
It'll put a little hair on your chest.
Ooh.
It is rough. But that if you ask for giblets, we do charge for that. I charge $20 a bird for giblets. I don't know what Colton's price is, but I charge for giblets.
We had a group come out last year, and no one had requested the giblets out of these cranes, but one group. So our first group that asked for it said, I'd like to get the livers out, I'd like to get the hearts. I said, all right, no problem. We'll get that.
The heart's not bad to get. That's not bad.
Yeah, hearts are easy, but
and they're pretty good too.
I said, no problem. So I get out there, and Mike's still scouting. I have all the birds. We're going to bring them to him the next day at the next hunt. And so I breast everything, get all the meat off, bag it up, and I have all the birds laying out there for when Mike gets there. And I finish, probably 10 minutes before Mike gets back. I said, hey, Mike, go out back, get all those crane, get the giblets out for me. He's like, all right, I got it. He goes out there, and it's, been like 10 minutes. I look out back, and he's crying.
I'm not crying. I'm gagging. Let's get this straight. It may have been a tear involved, but I was not crying. I was gagging.
He's crying like he just watched a sad dog video.
Oh, okay.
So I stepped out there. I'm like, hey, Mike, man up. Get this done. Man, I want to go to bed. And he's like, you don't get it. And he's just gagging the entire time, like, almost like he's right on the edge of throwing up.
I was like, right there.
Man. So I was like, you know what? I'll just show him how to do it. So I sat down and I grabbed the bird and cut inside of it. And as soon as I did, it's like
he wasn't ready.
It's like a concentrated gunshot deer.
Yeah.
And so it hits me, and I'm trying to keep a straight face, and it's just like I feel the pressure building up my face. Trying not to get that.
Runs across the yard gagging.
Oh
and it just came out. And then, for the next hour, we sat there gagging as we cleaned up the 10-man limit of giblets.
Oh.
It was bad. Oh, it was terrible. But no, past that.
They're great.
So the main thing you want to do when you get a crane is you cut the outside layer of skin out. It's more of a thick skin that makes it a tougher eat.
That's why it's also hard to kill them too. They're just a tough bird.
And then you want to pull all the fat off that meat as well. That fat gives it that really gamey flavor. Not that there is that much with crane. There is some. It's a lot less than a goose. So you get that fat in that outer layer of not skin, but I don't know what you'd call it. It's like silver skin.
Yeah, silver skin on the membrane. Just fillet that out.
Yeah, and then, if you want to go all out on it, like say you guys came down and this was the only crane hunt you're going to do for the next 2 years, you take that meat, you put it in ice water like you would a deer, and you basically try to soak out all that blood,
purge all the blood out of it and stuff.
Right, and then you can do anything with it.
Steaks.
Steaks are my favorite. It's fast, easy, and tastes phenomenal.
Just cook it like
you meat with chicken fries. Chicken fries is another really popular one.
Colton's wife cooks the best crane enchiladas, and you would not know it was crane.
Mike, she's going to kill you.
Well, she's not.
My wife cooks them in a crock pot. And then she ends up making it to where you pull it apart, and then it's like shredded beef almost, and she'll put it in the enchiladas, and it's unreal. I can't go into the ingredients, but I can tell you it's great.
If you message me after the podcast, I'll give you the secret.
She's looking at me through the door. She's pointing at me.
Yeah, she's hollering at us from the other room now.
So let me ask you about, you said there's a lot of other guides down there. So what kind of land position do you have? What's the price do you lease them for the year? It kind of sounds like you have it locked up for a year.
Right. So you lease out for the season, typically. There's a lot of big name guides out here. Guides that have been around for a long time. We get along with most everyone. There's a few groups that are a little bit unbearable to us. I'm not going to say any names because that's not needed. lease cost, I mean, last year, my main lease was $1,500 for the season, which was incredibly inexpensive
for as many birds as we took out of there.
Yeah,
right.
I bet.
I mean, big leases, there's guys that are spending $2,500 up front with $50 a gun past that.
Ooh,
Okay.
That's a good lease. Don't get me wrong. Land wise, we go out and we'll offer everybody X amount of dollars per gun. And if they have something preconceived, something that they've thought about before, like a lot of guys out here like to say $50 a gun, we'll say, yeah, we honor that. We're not trying to get other outfitters kicked off. That's stupid. There's too many birds out here. There's too many guys looking to hunt Sandhill Crane. There's too much of everything. So I think if we go out there and we keep everything just normal and do what we do, it's going to create less problems than it has. So typically it's $50 a gun. As for the general public, if they're to come out here, they could find a killer feed and they could simply ask the farmer or the landowner, hey, do you mind if we hunt out here? And the farmer or landowner will just say, pick up your holes.
Yeah.
And that's it. And you have permission to hunt out there for the rest of the season.
Don't leave ruts and don't shoot my cows.
Don't shoot the windows out of my tractor.
Yeah. Too.
So
Yeah.
you guys were talking about how that salt pond or whatever, used to be a big roost and then got shot off the one time or whatever, and then they never came back to that. Are you seeing them be that sensitive in fields as well? So like if you get a good shoot on a good feed, how long do you have to lay off that field before they'll be back in there and you can shoot them again?
I mean, the fields, if you do it right, there's a way to hunt a field back to back to back.
Wow.
Same field.
Get in there and get out after you're done shooting.
Right.
Take pictures elsewhere.
Or, you shoot your limit, right? You pick up your birds, you leave your blind and your decoys out there, and you get the heck out of Dodge. You want the rest of the birds to keep landing there and feed as normal. When they go back to loaf, that's when you go and you pick up everything. That's the best way to do that. You never really ruin a field because the crop changes so much. Not every farmer is going to say, I'm planting cotton this year, next year, and the year after.
It just changes. They rotate them a lot up here.
They chase their preferred crop.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
Peanuts is a preferred crop.
It's like crack.
Right. So
you can't shoot them off of a peanut field.
Like tomorrow, I've got a guy that I leased out his land last year. He's actually my main lease from last year. I called him. I said, hey, man, would you mind us hunting? We're just doing a buddy hunt. He said, I'd love for you to go out there. Shoot them off my property, please. They're tearing up my peanuts.
Seriously.
So it's one of those things. We don't have to pay this guy because these birds. Yeah, these birds are costing him a lot of money.
Right.
And they will trash a peanut field or a wheat field too.
Because we've gotten so much rain lately, they haven't been able to harvest. So peanuts take once they're grown, it takes X amount of time for them to start to dry out, and then the farmer has to go in there and rotate the peanuts, flip them. Once they flip them, it takes about a week to 2 weeks to dry out. After they dry out, they can harvest them.
So in the meantime, it's good for us.
Low hanging fruit.
Yeah, it's low hanging fruit at that point. But once they're on a hot feed, it is hard to keep them off. I mean, you'll be picking up and they're still trying to land in the field with you there. I guess they can count because they know you're limited out. Because they're like, okay, that's good. Let's get in here and get some lunch real quick. Which
a decoy right there.
Yeah,
it's a really good peanut.
Yeah, you may have fooled Carl, but you're not getting me. I'm just going to land over here real quick.
There's always a Carl. Always a Carl.
Every flock has a Carl.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about that homemade blind. You just sent me a picture before we started here, but it looked like it could hold a couple fellas.
So the first one, I bought Justin Hill with Ranger Creek Goose Guide. I bought his stuffers from him. And I was talking to him with we're running tangle freeze, panel blinds. One thing that I really like to invest in is a good blind, A-frame. And he said, well, shoot, man, I'm trying to get rid of one. if you drive up there to my lodge, I'll just throw it in the trailer and take it. I mean, for me,
godsend.
Ooh, that was huge. You know, so we drove up there with him. He's a super nice guy. I mean, great guy. I'd always suggest Ranger Creek Goose Guide. We went up there, we loaded up that blind, and it was phenomenal. And that one is 30 foot, maybe a little bit more.
30 and change, yeah.
And as I have this one out, I have my guide Wyatt, right? I'm talking to him about this blind, and he wants to build one. He has like no welding experience, but he wants to learn. And he's got a bunch of square tubing.
Just a bunch of scrap metal that's perfect for what he was wanting to do.
So I told him what's on this blind, and I told him what improvements I would make if I were to rebuild the blind. And he gets to make this as a summer project, right? And so he makes this beautiful 35 foot panel blind.
Monster of it.
Oh my gosh, it's monster.
It's the Taj Mahal of blinds.
Yes, it's beautiful. And we'll fit 12 to 15 easily in the thing.
Depending on how big the clients are.
I mean, if they're my size, maybe 10, but.
You're bigger than me. Don't start that.
Yeah, it's just 35 foot blind. That's big.
Yeah.
It's square tubing,
cattle panel.
Yeah, with housing, you know, like a house format, square tubing, hinges on the tops, cattle panels for the walls, and then the cattle panels are holding on to brushing like what you'd buy from one of the major chains, you know, if that's Tingle Free, if that's Avery, if that's anyone like that.
That kind of marshy grass, that hula skirt looking grass stuff.
And then what Wyatt did after that I loved is he went and bought a huge spool of bungee cord, right? So then he bungee corded all around through that grass,
you know, that hula skirt.
And they went out to a pond and they took
we cut an acre of brush down the can, and that's what you saw.
Right. We filled up one of our full body trailers or enclosed trailers. Sorry, it is the full body trailer though. They filled it up with grass.
I mean, we filled it up, and that's a 18-foot trailer, and that's what got thrown onto that blind.
Oh my gosh! So Colton, you said you missed the fun of all that brushing.
I swear he was probably like 100 yards away, just sitting there laughing at us while we were cutting brush.
I've got really good binoculars.
Yeah,
I've got a job, you know, and my job takes priority over everything. And these guys, they kicked some butt and they got out there and they got it done, which is, I'm very gracious of because my hands are pretty right now.
You're welcome.
And everyone else, you know, they're cut up from the elbow down.
Oh, yeah. Honestly, it took longer.
I'm sure I've missed brushing though. I will give you that.
Yeah. I also noticed the other day you were kind of missing on brushing a little bit too. You didn't give up the saw very much, did you?
I was trying my new tool. We got in years past we've used a yo-yo. You know what a yo-yo is, right?
It's basically like a sickle kind of thing for cutting brush, but we upgraded this year.
The way you teach delinquents respect. You know, you give them that, you say, go take down that field, shred it. Well, we've used that for a few years now.
It works.
And this year I decided, well, we're gonna get up. I'm gonna upgrade it to a hedge trimmer. Oh my gosh!
Yeah,
it is incredible.
It still took longer to cut all the brush than it did to brush that blind up. Once you do all the prep work, getting the bungee cords and stuff in there. After that, it's pretty easy to brush, and it didn't take us very long to brush it. Relatively long for a 30-foot blind to brush it all in. So, also helps when you've got guys who are willing to help brush a blind to go on a free hunt.
Yeah, that's the next big thing with that blind that I failed to mention. So you can take that blind and you can make it a 5-foot blind, a 10-foot blind, a 15-foot blind, 20-foot blind. It's 5-foot panels.
Yeah.
Which is brilliant. You know, you don't have to throw out that monstrous blind. And I think that's also a big thing you have to think about if you're looking to create your own blind.
Yeah. We tried, what was it, PVC pipe last year. It didn't work. We tried PVC pipe and chicken wire. And, burlap, yeah. It just did not work that well. it could, but it's not as good as what Wyatt built and what we inherited from Justin.
Yeah.
So,
Nice.
Yeah, that's awesome. 35.
Mhm.
Wow. Speaking of the, I'm looking at your website here and I'm reading, and I know you mentioned this a little while ago that Sandhill Cranes can live to be pretty old. On your website here, it says they can live from 35 to 40 years in a full life term. That's insane to me. Do they have, do they do banding studies and stuff like that on Sandhill Cranes? And have you?
Don't get me started. You've seen Stephen Ranella's episode on Meat Eater where they come out to Lockheed, Texas, and they shoot some crane and he shoots a banded crane. We shoot a ton of crane every year, a ton of them.
and we know a lot of people that also do that, and not one of them has ever shot a banded crane or seen a banded crane. That is the only time I've ever seen that.
I'm not calling Stephen Ranella a liar by any means. I'm just saying
he's got really good luck.
He has to be the luckiest man in the world. From what I understand, the majority of the banded crane fly to Russia.
Hang out in
that's
Siberia.
interesting.
And the more I hunt them, the more I believe it. So,
Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting. Siberia.
Yeah.
Jesus.
And Lockney is actually not all that far from here. We've actually hunted out there as well. So they get a decent number of crane too, just not like what we've got right down here. So
That's
something else. But yeah, that's our number one.
I've never heard of them being banded, so that's pretty. I'm gonna have to look into that more.
You know, people always ask us, what's the chances of shooting a band? I said, go hunt Bigfoot and the unicorn at the same time and see which one you find first.
You got a better shot of getting a banded unicorn than a banded sandhill crane.
Yeah.
That's funny.
exactly.
you know, we say that. I just hope tomorrow we prove ourselves right.
Seriously, I hope the first volley that comes in is just
I'm holding
banded.
back tears here, just hoping.
That's funny. Yeah, it's so awesome that you guys open up tomorrow, and before we started recording, you described it as kind of Christmas Eve, Christmas morning kind of deal for you guys, and that was something that was pretty going on quite a bit in our group. As on Facebook, as duck seasons were open up, everyone was kind of getting all the feels of the Christmas Eve kind of feel. So I'm excited for you guys to get after them tomorrow. We've kept you already almost an hour, so in show tradition, I'm going to ask Dan if he's got one more question for you guys here before we let you guys go.
Oh man, I'm just I'm excited to see pictures and hopefully fill up that 35-foot blind and then go get a limit of canvas backs and redheads and Colton, I hope you shoot some ruddies tomorrow, bud.
he can shoot them, he just can't seem to kill them.
I do have one more question. The guys that requested the giblets, did they actually take them, or did they just want you to go through that process?
They take them.
They took them. We made sure they took them.
I mean, they had some rules there. If the liver was damaged, of course, they didn't want it. They took all the hearts. They wanted the hearts and livers in separate bags. And then it's almost like they fought over it. And they called it some weird French name. I'm sorry, I don't know what it is. But they said it's a delicacy.
Yeah.
I'm going to avoid it like the plague. Not because I'm a poor sport here, but because it's hard for me to believe they can taste good after smelling that.
Oh. Well, I mean, a gut shot is bad enough. So if you're saying it's a concentrated gut shot, like that'll make a crow, a vulture gag. That's just nasty.
Y'all come down and we'll have you get the giblets out.
No, I have no desire. Never want to do that. Never. I'll puke everywhere.
I'd rather eat a coot. Knowingly eating a coot than eat a crane giblet, that's for sure. Or gizzard.
Gross.
I'm sure our Cajun buddies down there in Louisiana have fed us coot and we just didn't know it. I'm pretty sure that's what they did last year when they came up.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Well, guys, we appreciate you giving us some time here on the eve before your opener. we encourage everybody to check you guys out at Red Eye Outfitters, Facebook, Instagram. Head over to your website, redeyeoutfitters.com. And again, we want to thank you guys for supporting our 100th episode giveaway. And, I know for me, and I know I speak for Dan when I say that, Sandhill Crane is on our bucket list of hunts we want to get on. And we look forward to hopefully getting an opportunity to come down and bang them up with you guys sometime. And we wish you guys the best of luck tomorrow morning. And we'll be following you on Instagram and looking for pictures to see how y'all do.
Hey, we appreciate the time on this podcast. It was fun, guys.
Yeah, I had a blast. Loved y'all's podcast. I actually turned Colton on to y'all years ago. So,
well, we appreciate that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, guys. Good luck tomorrow, and we'll talk to y'all soon.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, we appreciate the guys down there at Red Eye for giving us a few of their minutes here on Duck Eve, Crane Eve, I guess, whatever they want to call it down there. So again, if you're into crane hunting, you want to explore it, give it a shot, definitely give these guys a look. Check them out on social media. They did donate a hunt to our 100th episode giveaway, so please keep that in mind if this is the type of hunt that you're looking to. Again, we always say, please support the people that support our program. So keep those dudes in mind down there.
Yeah, I can't imagine on opening day just having these giant birds coming in your flock. But that's, yeah, I wish them well. I'm sure that they're going to blast them and put them all over social. So I'm excited for them. And I do want to get down there and I want to eat them. I want to taste some of these birds because that's all you ever hear about. And I want to be part of it.
Yeah, I'd like to try them as well. And, I like just new experiences and doing things differently. And that is unlike anything that I've ever experienced. So definitely excited to hopefully get to do that next year.
Yeah. So what's the date today? 26th, 27th?
Today's 26th.
26th. I will say that I started a fire in my house today. First heat of the year. So, just taking a chill off a little bit. It's been in the 30s at night and maxed out at like 43 today, I think. So, yeah, the wife and the kids have been holding on pretty good for me, but, yeah, got enough wood for the year and I don't know. I just like to hold out, but finally the wife had a long, not so happy day today. So I figured a warm house would be good for her. So ended up going that route, but I have seen, some fresh birds moving in. I do, usually I make fun of the amount of birds that I see, but I am seeing some birds starting to, congregate on our local lakes, and I plan on getting after it a bit. I'm still taking it easy because got some trips lined up, so still trying to play that game a little bit, but it's going to be go time here pretty shortly.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. This year we're doing some stuff, but 2019 is already it's crazy how much we've got filled up already. Yep. Starting with our snow goose hunt in March. And, our fall, we've already got I don't even know how many we've got lined up, but 2019 appears to be a banner year for that. So, the good news is we're going to get to hunt new places, new experiences with new people, awesome stuff for content for the show, all that stuff. The drawback is, probably not going to get to wear it out as much at home as I normally would during that time, balancing like kids sports and all that kind of stuff. And I'll have a new baby as well. So we'll see how that goes. But,
but we won't have much, depending on the goose limit or the season, if the RP zone's the same as the AP zone, then we might have only a couple weekends to get after it anyways.
Yeah. Honestly, if I like to hunt geese, but I cannot see myself routinely targeting them for one bird limits if that's the case, if ducks are still in. So I would probably shift my focus 100% to divers at that point.
Yep.
If I'm hunting around here, because, even if you hunt with 5 or 6 guys, I mean, you get one volley and you drop them all. It's not like it's not like I still wouldn't enjoy it, right? I would, but if I can pursue divers or something like that, instead, I'll do that. But, it is what it is. I don't know. I would suspect, because that article, the Delta article, referenced the Atlantic population and the Atlantic zones within the Atlantic flyway. And in Virginia, we've got the Atlantic, the Southern Bay James or whatever, and then the resident population. So I think hopefully just that portion of our state will be impacted. The, Maryland guys and Delaware, those guys are getting hammered with this, because they were at 2 bird limit as it was. And that's not a lot either, right? I mean, it's
right.
Not a big bag to begin with either. So that's tough. And, I do feel for them and
30 days, like that's
right. I mean, and here's where that really impacts, I think. So it's 30 days. Maryland, you can't hunt Sundays. So when is a kid who plays baseball or basketball or whatever in the wintertime, when are they going to get out to hunt? Right. You're basically looking at 4 weekends more or less. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And, that's just not a lot of time. Kids are busy these days. It's harder than ever to get them out. And, by cutting that season down in half just makes it even harder. And I do believe that, all of this is with good intent and will be beneficial for your, for the future. It's just, it stinks. I mean, it's just, you wish that you didn't have to go through this, but hopefully it'll be a short time of reduction, and maybe they'll go back up before too long. So.
Yeah, I read something. They thought it was at least 2 years until and it seems like one of the main things is that they just don't have enough data to where they can really figure out what's going on. So over the next 2 years, they're going to be gathering that data and really, getting into the nitty gritty on it and trying to figure some things out. So,
and that's the thing. I mean, if you're just going to make the change for 1 year, don't make the change, because there's no way to quantify that and rule out the fact that year's data set is an anomaly, right? So if you're looking for longevity solutions, you have to try things for long enough to get a valid data set to compare that to the historical data that you have. 1 year is probably not good enough, because as we know, harvest numbers could change based on weather and migration patterns, and all that stuff plays into effect. So they're going to have to try it for a little while to see the impact and make informed decisions. So, do the best we can. And I think that's why, as waterfowlers, we always kind of keep in mind, it's not all about harvest, and it's about the pursuit and the, all of that goes with it. Because at the end of the day, we do pursue a fragile resource that, at periods of time has been decimated, much lower than what we see today. So, hopefully, these changes will be positive and will have us back looking at higher limits and more birds in the sky, in short order.
Yep. I'm excited to see what the final rolling is, and, just the different, like I said, AP versus RP and go from there. But yeah, it is a good time you just think about the non-hunters that say, how can you hunt and still be a conservationist? Well, this is a time where the conservationist is going to shine through, and we need to take advantage of that and really, take care of the resource and do what we got to do. So that's a benefit to what we do, and get things back in order, and we'll go from there. So all good stuff. And I don't know, man, that was a good crane show. I'm excited for those guys, and I think that's about it. I think I have to drive to Pittsburgh to pick up a phone tomorrow. That's
annoying.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I got to sit through a soccer game in the rain tomorrow morning. So
we have a Halloween parade tomorrow as well, but it's going to rain, so I think I get out of it.
Nice.
So the kids don't get sick. That's what I use now. That's how I get out of stuff. I don't want the kids getting sick.
It makes sense.
As my house is 40 some degrees. But I feel like my dad. Oh my gosh.
You're that guy from like the TV commercials that, what is it, like an insurance commercial or whatever? You turn into your dad and you got like the white New Balances, the dad Jordans.
Oh my gosh.
So good. All right. What do you got? One last thing before we go?
I don't know, man. I don't think I do.
Okay.
Just good stuff.
Well, I'm sure as I start reading these, you're going to cut me off with one more thing.
Well, I did one more thing. I have gotten multiple messages because the last two shows have been me interviewing people, and they just say, the fun seeker is my keyword to chuckling. I guess I chuckled every time that came on, and I said, you know what? At least no one can say that I'm not having fun doing this or hunting, so I might chuckle, I might laugh, but I'm having fun doing it. So that's what it's all about.
Yeah, man, you catch some grief for that, but I think everyone likes it. It cracks me up, certainly.
Good.
What was I? Dang it! I was going to say something and I completely spaced on it I don't remember. Anyway, oh well. Okay, well, before we wrap up this week's episode, just want to take a minute to again thank Camp Chef, Dunn Sporting Goods, Lucky Duck, 737 Duck and Goose Calls, Gunner Kennels, Big Al Silhouette Decoys, Native Eyewear, and Black Rifle Coffee Company. Thank you to those companies. Please support them in any way that you can. All right, Dan, with that, I think we're going to go ahead and call this one. All right, that does it for episode 106. Thanks to Colton and Michael from Red Eye Outfitters for joining us and talking crane hunting and schooling us up and getting us all fired up for their season to get started. If you're new to our season here at the HP Outdoors Waterfowl Podcast, check us out at iTunes. We love 5-star ratings and reviews because it helps waterfowl hunters just like you find our show. Hopefully everyone's out there getting a little blind time and getting some time in the field, but if you're not, do your best, get out there soon. Till next time, for Dan, I'm Josh. Take care.